Greetings, fellow dungeon delvers, and welcome to Dorans and Dragons, where we work together to come up with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition builds for your favorite League of Legends champions. Today we're building Rek'Sai, the Void Burrower. There isn't much lore about Rek'Sai, but here's what we do know. Rek'Sai is a void creature of the Rek'Sai variety. She is the queen of them, seemingly by the merit of being the largest and strongest of her species. Rek'Sai has slaughtered entire regions of Shurima, entirely on her own, and claims the majority of that land as her domain. You never know where she'll unburrow from the earth and strike, but once she finds you, escape is nigh impossible. Before we get started with the build, go ahead and like the video and hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when we release our builds. We'd like to take a minute and thank one of this month's Doran's Blade patrons, Kaiser Nephilim. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to us. Kaiser Nephilim chose Rek'Sai to build as part of the rewards for our Blade Tier Plus patrons. Come join us over on Patreon today for just $1 to get access to our awesome Discord community where we talk League and D&D all day long. Alright, now let's get into it. Here's a quick preview of the build. For race, we're going with custom lineage. Per usual, our stats are going to be determined using the standard array. For our stat priorities, we're going to max strength and dump intelligence. We do have a multi-class requirement of 13 in strength and wisdom. Our leveling path is going to be dependent on when your campaign is starting. If you're starting at level 8 or below, I'd recommend the path of 6 levels in Barbarian, 3 levels in Fighter, then 11 levels in Druid. If you're starting at level 9 or above, I'd recommend grabbing those Druid levels first, then your Barbarian and Fighter levels. I'm suggesting these different paths because leveling as a Druid is going to feel not very Rek'Sai-like if you're starting early. The only thing you'll really be missing if you go Barbarian first is her burrow ability, which is iconic to her, but isn't worth not matching up with her fantasy-wise until we get you there. Rek'Sai's passive, Fury of the Rek'Sai, is going to be Combat Wild Shape ability and Second Wind. Her Q, Queen's Wrath, is going to come from Form of the Beast, specifically the Claws, and Sweeping Attack. Our W, Burrow and Unburrow, come from a few ways. Investiture of Stone and Erupting Earth is one, and Earth Elemental Wild Shape and Earth Glide is another. Her E, Furious Bite, is going to be Form of the Beast Bite, and her Tunnel is going to come from Tree Stride. And finally we get our ultimate, Void Rush, from Bestial Soul Jumping and Lunging Attack. For race, we're borrowing a page from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything by creating a custom lineage. This is going to let us skirt any flavoring and straight up create the Rek'Sai by ourselves. Custom lineages get to choose one ability score and bump it up by 2. We'll be taking strength since it'll be dealing the most damage for us in this build until we get our full burrowing online. After that, we'll pick up skill proficiency with stealth, allowing us to prowl through the earth and ambush our enemies a little more easily. And for our free feat, we'll go with Fighting Initiate, allowing us to choose the unarmed fighting style to learn, which will give us 1d8 unarmed strikes to use for our melee attack, so we don't need to worry about any weapons for this build. For background, we're going with Outlander, since Rek'Sai lurks in the ruins of Shurima. Outlanders gain proficiency in athletics and survival, and the Wanderer feature, giving us eidetic memory with terrain and geography, and letting you forage food and water for the group easily. For stats, we're going with the balance Riot strives to find for this champion with the standard array. Roll if you want to, just keep at least a 13 in strength and wisdom. We'll be starting off with a 15 in strength because we need to make our claws and teeth wicked sharp. Constitution will be after that to give our girls' armor plates some bounce to them and give us a beefier hit point pool. Wisdom is next, mainly for multi-class purposes, which will make sense when we explain what our dump stat is. Dexterity will be a 12 since we want to give ourselves some extra AC love with unarmored defense. Our charisma is going to be average, which is unfortunate because her growls are straight up terrifying. And then we'll dump intelligence because the lore literally says she is to them what a dangerous animal is to humans, them referring to the void creatures. Alrighty, since we don't need any equipment, we'll jump right in with some levels in Barbarian. Being a Barbarian is going to give us a d12 hit die and a bunch of unnecessary proficiencies, except for our skill proficiencies, which are going to be Intimidation and Perception. We'll get our Rage feature right off the bat, letting us enter a Fury for a minute as a bonus action. During that time, we'll have advantage on our strength checks and saves, increased damage on our swings, and resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Meaning we'll hit harder, and our natural armor plates will shrug off even more damage. Speaking of those natural armor plates, we're going to simulate them with unarmored defense, giving us an AC of 10 plus our dex and con mods. Second level barbarians learn to recklessly attack and unlock their danger sense. Reckless attack is going to let us roll with advantage on all of our attacks that turn, at the cost of giving everyone else advantage against us until the start of our next turn. Danger sense is a really strong defensive boost we get early, giving us advantage on all dex saves against effects or spells we can see coming, which will often let us avoid damage altogether, or at least only take half of it. Level 3 barbarians commit themselves to a primal path to guide their rages. We're going with Path of the Beast, just like we did last week, and for the exact same reasons. Whenever we enter our rage, Form of the Beast is going to give us stronger claws for our Q or a stronger bite for our E. Bite is going to give our jaws a little more bite. We'll be able to deal 1d8 piercing damage, and once per turn when we land this bite, we can heal ourselves for whatever your proficiency bonus is at the time, as long as you have less than half your hit points when you do. The other option we'll use sometimes is our claws, which will deal 1d6 damage, plus we get one additional claw attack as part of the same attack action, meaning once we get extra attack, we can attack with these claws 3 times per attack action. We'll also be able to get action surge and sweeping attack, meaning we'll be a whirling storm of claws and death later on. 4th level barbarians gain the first ability score improvement of the build. As always, we'll break them all down here so you can pick and choose for yourself along the way. We only have 3 this build, so try to stay awake through this section for once. At Barbarian 4, we're going to get some help leaping and a point in our strength score to even it out with the athlete feat. At Druid 4, we'll max our strength with 2 points, and then at Druid 8, we'll bump our constitution to more points for some health and a +1 to our AC thanks to unarmored defense. Level 5 barbarians get the extra attack and fast movement features. Both are pretty straightforward. Extra attack will let you make 2 swings of your arms during your attack action, and fast movement is going to bump our base movement speed up by 10 feet. 6th level beast barbarians unlock their bestial soul, giving you the ability to adapt yourself at the end of each of your rests. We have a few options, but just like Warwick last week, we're only concerned with the jumping, and ironically it's for Herald as well. The jumping option is going to let us make an athletics check when we jump and add that check's total to the jump, meaning we're going to get some air on our leaps. Alrighty, let's change gears and grab some levels in Fighter to give our Void Queen some training in swinging those massive claw arms. We'll drop down to a d10 hit die for these levels unfortunately, and gain no new proficiencies. We do pick up a new fighting style though, and unsurprisingly we'll lean into our blindness with blind fighting. I know this is 10 feet of blind sight, not tremor sense, but it's the closest we're going to get until we get our elemental form later on. And we'll also gain the healing portion of our passive with Second Wind, which will let us heal ourselves as a bonus action once per rest, restoring 1d10 plus our fighter level and hit points. Insert the channel's standard disclaimer about using these before spending hit die on a short rest. Second level fighters get one of the best features in the game with Action Surge, which will let you push yourself to the limit and squeeze an extra action in your turn once per rest. Now normally one of the abilities in our build will completely rely on comboing 2 features or attacks through this to work, but we don't really need it here. It'll certainly help with our Q, but it's not completely necessary, so feel free to use it however you'd like. Level 3 fighters choose their martial archetype, which is honestly just the D&D writers plugging fighting style into the thesaurus so they could justify using it twice during character creation. Now I know I shared this as a tweet, and later made that tweet into a TikTok, but it was while I was writing the script that I had that minor epiphany, so I figured I'd just leave it in here. So if you've seen that multiple times now, I do apologize, but we're still going to talk about it. Anywho, we're going with Battlemaster because we need our claws to get some splash damage, and we need a lunge on our ultimate. Battlemaster is going to give us a pull of d8 superiority die. These superiority die power our Battlemaster maneuvers, which are a series of techniques we can use to enhance our attacks. The main 2 we're concerned with is sweeping attack for our Q and lunging attack for our ultimate. Sweeping attack lets us hit another creature within 5 feet of the creature we just hit, assuming the attack roll we made on the hit creature would have hit on that creature as well, dealing damage equal to whatever we roll on our superiority die. Lunging attack is going to give us an extra 5 feet of range to our strike, adding whatever we roll on our superiority die to the damage we deal. And now we begin the climb to burrowing with levels in Druid. Druids have an even worse D8 hit die and give us no new proficiencies either. They do give us the Druidic language, but roleplay wise it's not really good fit for a creature that basically growls 99% of the time. Second level Druids gain their Wild Shape ability and choose their Druid Circle. Wild Shape is going to be crucial to one of the two burrowing paths we have available to us, but I'll explain more when we get there. For our Druid Circle, we're going to improve our Wild Shape with the Circle of the Moon. Circle forms will increase the pool of forms we have by letting us pull from any CR1 or lower beast based on the Wild Shape table restrictions. And then Combat Wild Shape is going to let us Wild Shape as a bonus action, and let us heal ourselves using our spell slots, transferring them at a rate of 1d8 hit points gained per spell slot level. And since we won't be using our spell slots often, we'll have plenty of healing stored up for us. Level 5 Druids learn 3rd level spells. Erupting Earth is a very cool spell and will be one way we create the Unburrow effect when we're in our Investiture of Stone. This will require a little bit of flavoring, but right before you emerge from the earth, you'll cast this over a 20-foot cube and come up through the ground in a fountain of earth and stone. Each creature in the cube has to make a dex save or take 3d12 bludgeoning damage. Level 9 Druids learn 5th level spells. We'll get a cool version of Rek'Sai's tunnels with the Tree Stride spell, letting her move between trees as if they were her tunnels. It has a maximum range of 500 feet between trees, and can only be used once per round, but it's a really fun way to get this ability. 10th level Moon Druids unlock their Elemental Wild Shape, which is going to give us the first path of burrowing with the Earth Elemental Wild Shape. Okay, now first things first. For this to really work, you need your DM to let you flavor your Earth Elemental form as just you, but bigger and made of stone. I honestly don't think this needs to be much of a stretch, because other than the art provided, nothing in the description of the Earth Elemental locks it into a particular shape, so why can't you form it as yourself, just larger and covered in several layers of stone? This is honestly my favorite version of our burrowing, because it's going to give us a size increase to large, which gets us closer to the huge creature she seems to be in lore. It's also going to give us so much tankiness, with 126 hit points, 17 AC, damage resistances out the wazoo, and a bunch of condition immunities. We're going to get our burrowing through Earth Glide, which allows us to slide through the earth using our speed. It's not quite burrowing since we're not churning tunnels for us to use, but it's as close as we're going to get in D&D, so we'll take it. It's also going to give us Tremor Sense, up to 60 feet, so we'll finally have the ability to see our enemy's footsteps even while underground. This form will last until you lose all of your hit points, or 5 hours, whichever comes first. Level 11 Druids learn 6th level spells. We're going to get the other version of burrowing with Investiture of Stone. This is going to summon bits of earth and stone to surround our body, giving us resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage. It's also going to give us the cooler version of our Unburrow with a special action that'll force an earthquake in a 15-foot radius around us. Every creature that fails a dex save in that radius will be knocked prone. We can also slide through the earth, similarly to our Earth Elemental form, but we can't end our turn there or we'll be ejected from it and stunned until the end of our next turn. This is the less cool version of the burrowing, but a much cooler version of the unburrowing, so take it as it is. I would recommend using this one form only when you're out of wild shape charges, but it can be lots of fun as well. Alright, now that we've completed the build, let's see how we did. First, the good. You are going to hit like a tank and take hits like one too. And we're getting burrowing, no matter how clunky it seems. Now the bad. The burrowing is pretty damn clunky, and takes us a while to get to. But hey, we do what we gotta do, and as long as you flavor it right, you can have a really fun time with this build. Besides that, my only real beef with the build is that there's no happy equivalent to Prey Seeker. I thought about doing Fairy Fire, but then it wouldn't be traveling through the ground and wouldn't do any damage, so I just scrapped it. So what'd you think? I've included a link to this build via D&D Beyond in the description below, as well as Amazon links to the books used in this build. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a few awesome rewards, and you get access to our great Discord community. We plan on churning out one League Champion build every week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift, or in the Forgotten Realms.